I've just been working around the house, trying to fix things up, working on the gardens. It's very challenging being here in the house, but I find comfort in that also because I'm surrounded by my mum's things and her possessions.
At his childhood home in Australand, south of Perth, James Turbot is working on getting out of the country.
There's plenty of flights available here for me to leave. It's just if I'm allowed on one.
The 35-year-old has had the worst few weeks of his life. He rushed back from Belgium in June to see his dying mum in Perth. He could only fly into Melbourne and was denied multiple requests for an exemption to leave hotel quarantine to be with her.
But basically they denied me. Western Australia flat out refused to let me in, and Melbourne or Victoria didn't give me an answer on an exemption. And I've just felt dismayed at the way people have been treated.
James was forced to say goodbye over a screen and endured 2 weeks alone inside a hotel room. His case sparked international outrage.
Absolute hell. It's been 6 weeks of a nightmare that doesn't seem to stop. I just feel that it's full of double standards here. If you're a celebrity, if you've got money, you can buy your way out.
Now James is facing another hurdle. A new rule means he and other Australians who normally live overseas have to apply for permission to leave the country.
I've just felt pretty embarrassed to be Australian, and I'm looking forward to leaving as soon as I can.
The federal government has used extraordinary powers under the Biosecurity Act to restrict movement. The new rule requiring expats to apply to leave was introduced quietly last week.
We are asking them to provide proof that they do live overseas, and that could be a residency permit, it could be a utility account.
Mark Lawyers has been inundated with emails from expats concerned about being locked in. The law firm is closely watching to see if there are grounds for a legal challenge. It also tried to fight the India travel ban earlier this year.
Whether we have, as citizens, an implied right under the Constitution as part of our citizenship to return home and to come and go freely. I think what is being heard by people is a message from the government, don't come home, which is, not nice. That's awful.
Home Affairs Minister Karen Andrews says people should be able to leave if they can provide the paperwork.
It should be reasonably straightforward for them. But we don't want people coming in and out of this country multiple times and taking opportunities for other Australians who are trying to return home and to stay here permanently.
You can't even put a number, Minister, on kind of the people that you're worried about here. You've said it's a minority. Why are you targeting so many people? Is your intention here not to scare off expats from daring to visit Australia?
It's certainly not to scare anyone off. We welcome all Australians home. This is not penalising people. We are welcoming all Australians coming back, but we don't want people coming in multiple times because that does take beds from people. So it's a very simple and straightforward process.
But Minister, you can't even say how many people have been coming in multiple times. You can't even give a number on how many people have been doing this and what's the reason behind this.
I will certainly be collecting that data now, but we have been very clear to people that it is an exemption process that they need to go through. And I'm not making any apology at all for that, because Australians who live here have to go through that process.
There's no public health benefit in stopping someone leaving Australia. I think we need to look at different ways we can use to try and increase our international arrivals in a safe way.
Public health physician at the University of Melbourne, Nathan Grills, has been examining Australia's quarantine response and says the government should move away from a one-size-fits-all approach, including taking into account vaccination status and where people are travelling from.
So we need to start, sensibly opening up to make the whole system sustainable. So we've been talking about a traffic light system for a while now, where people coming from a low prevalence country would be considered green. They shouldn't require hotel quarantine at this point.
South Australian authorities are under increasing pressure to explain their reasoning after requiring Olympic athletes to complete another round of quarantine at home after being in hotel quarantine in Sydney, meaning 28 days of isolation.
If you are vaccinated and if you're tested, which these athletes are multiple times, that becomes a bit ridiculous.
After experiencing the worst of Australia's exemption processes, James Turbot is hoping to return to his girlfriend and the life he's built in Belgium as soon as possible.
I have no faith in the system at all. We don't know how those exemptions are being granted, who's behind the desk that particular day.
A transition period will be in place for the new exemption rule until early September, allowing people to speak with Border Force at the airport before flying out of the country. What does citizenship mean if a citizen can't return to their home?
They can come home. That is not the issue.
I fear for Australia and the insular direction that it's heading, for sure. This town will always be my home, but it's hard to see Australia as my home now after the way things have gone, and I know there's a lot of people that think the same way.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.